for me, I didn't play until my senior year. Like I rode the bench super hard, and I'm not saying I loved it, but I made the best bench atmosphere in the freaking country. I was like, if I'm not on the court, like I am going to be the biggest hype woman. I'm going to have the best celebrations. We will be the best bench in the country. And I was like, if I don't get on the court, whatever, like those girls are better than me. So I'll keep pushing them, but like
100%. I'm Maddie.
I'm Azhani.
It girls. Maddie, Berezowitz, and Azhani, Tealer.
I'm lit girl. Podcast with a couple it girls.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm lit girl. Podcast with a couple it girls. It girls.
What's up, sports fans? It's former NFL wide receiver Stevie Johnson. The wait is finally over. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, is now live in Kentucky. And new customers can get in on the action with $200 of bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Mercury. Finally, you can bet on your favorite sports, from the money line to point spreads to player props and more. This means you'll be able to place all kinds of bets, even live bets. Say you just have a feeling your favorite wide receiver in college football is going to get loose in the final minutes. Go ahead and live bet for him to score on the next drive. I promise you won't regret it. So start betting now on the app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Don't miss your chance to win $200 of bonus bets, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/Mercury and make every moment more. Must be 21 and up and present in Kentucky. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, guys, I got a hoodie on today, and it's because fresh ball fall is officially upon us, and it's time to get in the spirit. Guys, go out and get your Manscaped kit with using the It Girls code, ItGirls20 for 20% off and free shipping. And guys, get those balls looking nice for fall. It's getting real cold out. You want to stay cozy, but use Manscaped to get yourself right. For all those women or men in your life, and use our code to get 20% off at checkout. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the It Girls podcast, where we're just telling the stories of winning women. And our today's guest, if you don't know her name, you very soon will. This is Emily Ehman with the Big Ten Network, and she's been doing an incredible job covering volleyball and tons of other sports, and it's been really incredible to get to see her career blast off. And so, Emily, thank you for having us on, and we're excited to get to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm pumped to be here. I've followed you guys for a bit, and it's fun to see you elevate women in that way. And I mean, I also followed your college careers, obviously, and you're ballers, so it's fun to get to catch up.
No, absolutely. And for our guests that don't know, we kind of had a cool connection because Emily knows the guy who kind of helped It Girls come to be. His name's Adam. But so Adam texted us and was like, you guys should have Emily Ehman on the podcast. And Z and I were like, how the heck did we not think of that? Like, we have seen her everywhere. So without further ado, Emily, since we know who you are, but obviously not all of our guests do, or all of our audience does, give us like your 1 minute elevator pitch. Just tell us the basics and the stuff we got to know.
Yeah, so I'm Emily Ehman, as you said, and I'm a sports broadcaster. I do a variety of things. So my main job is calling volleyball games, where I'm a color analyst for Big Ten Network, ESPN, and Volleyball World as well. And I also am a digital host for Big Ten Network, which is probably where you guys see my face, unfortunately, and hear my voice all the time. So I'm the main digital host for Big Ten Network, covering every sport for the most part, but I also focus on volleyball. So I do a few weekly pieces, recapping whatever went on in the last week and all of that. And then I also do some sideline reporting and hosting and other varieties as well. I played volleyball at Northwestern, which is how I kind of got into the space, and studied journalism and wanted to be a journalist, sports broadcaster since I was like 10 years old. So kind of just living my childhood dream right now.
That is so cool. That was like one of my first questions. I was going to ask, was this like a childhood dream, or was this a career pivot, kind of like, I don't know what to do after college? So that's freaking awesome. Yeah. That's really cool.
I was reading a story oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's funny. So many people in this industry get in different ways. You know, some people come in at like age 40 because they either finish a career and want to get into sports. I have literally known what I wanted to do since I knew this was a job at age 9. My uncle was actually a college basketball broadcaster for ESPN. And I grew up in Bloomington, Indiana. So like Indiana University, that was, I grew up around it. I had family ties to a lot of different sports. And I would watch my uncle come into town and do games, and I would follow him around. I'd shout at the sideline reporters, and I was like 9 or 10 years old. Like I didn't even know this was a job, but I remember following someone around, and I think it clicked that I could stay in sports as a job, but I didn't have to be a coach or a player. Like I knew professional volleyball wasn't even a thing then. I also was not good enough to ever even consider that, but I also knew I didn't want to be a coach. So it was a fun way to be able to stay in sports, but also not have to have the pressure of like playing or coaching, because I knew that was not what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was reading the story about you and talking about you running around Assembly Hall and your uncle, and just talk a little bit about your uncle's influence on that. And I guess you kind of just hit it, but your uncle's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. So my uncle, he played basketball at Indiana. He also coached under Bob Knight, and since growing up, my family's from Bloomington. I grew up in Bloomington, and like Indiana University sports is like everything. We'd go to game days, even when he wasn't coaching. He ended up coming back to Indiana to coach. I don't even remember. It was like, I want to say 2007, 2008. The remainder of the season when Calvin Sampson got fired and whatever, they brought him in. So he was only there for about a half a season, but I had cousins my age too. So it was me and my brother, who were 3 years older than me. And then I had cousins who were also 3 years apart, a girl my age and a boy his age. So we would go after school, after sports practice, whatever, and we'd go play hide and seek in Assembly Hall like 2-3 times a week. And we'd like, duck behind like the popcorn machines or like go in the locker room. And I always think back, and it's so crazy that, that program is so big and well known for basketball, and, they're kind of, they're not getting back to where they were, but they're getting better, whatever. But it's funny to think back and like these moments growing up where I didn't realize back then how cool it was to be doing these things. And now sometimes when I tell these stories, I'm like, wait, yeah, that's like really freaking cool. Like I was a cool kid. But no, he had such a big influence on me. And when he transitioned to broadcasting, it again just really opened my eyes to see that you can stay in sports and not have to be a coach or not have to be a player. And I was always getting in trouble for talking growing up in class. Like all my report cards were like, she talks too much. And like looking back, I'm like, all right, guys, I made a career out of it. Like, come on.
That is so awesome. Oh my gosh. I feel that at a different level. It's so cool though when you said the playing hide and go seek around Assembly Hall. Not even remotely as cool, but my dad was the varsity basketball coach at my high school. And when you're a kid, you just think like that's the biggest deal ever is like the high schoolers, right? And then in your case, you were looking at like college athletes, but we did the same thing. We would play hide and go seek. They had like a back room, with all like the equipment of each sport, like in the closets. And me and my siblings would go up there and we'd play hide and seek for hours. Like my dad would be like, all right, time to go. And he like can't find the kids.
Yeah. Then we'd like hide and they'd be like, all right, we're leaving. It's like, all right, find us.
Yeah. Good luck. So I guess obviously, so it was you and your brother and your 2 cousins.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you guys all lived in Bloomington. Was that a big part of your childhood, is growing up with your extended family too?
Yeah. So he was actually only there for about a year, because after that season, they ended up hiring, he was kind of like an interim coach, but they ended up hiring a full-time coach, Tom Green, who went on to have a lot of years there. But my extended family was also in Indianapolis, which is like an hour drive. So there are 7 of us cousins, and they're all like my siblings. Like we grew up seeing each other all the time. Like I always say, I have one brother, but I always feel like I have 6 siblings because we were all so close, and we're all within like 4 or 5 years of each other. So yeah, it was so nice. I grew up, my family was so close growing up, and we had so much fun and just so much nonsense as kids.
That is awesome. Well, that's so cool.
Speaking of your family, I read that your family is like super into rock climbing. Is that true? Like what? How does that even start? Is that like a thing that you just go to a rec center and you're like, oh, this is fun, and then now you guys are climbing El Cap or something? Yeah,
so I'm very glad you brought this up. So yeah, my brother is a rock star. So my dad was a big climber growing up, and he lived like everywhere. He would live out west for a little bit, and he ended up settling down in Bloomington after he went to grad school at Indiana. But yeah, growing up, I mean, we like lived in the rock climbing gym. Like we would go there all the time. It was like a local gym. My brother got really attached to it like at a very young age. My mom always tells stories of this is like a kid that needed to be a leash kid because literally he would go missing at the drop of a hat. But when my mom would look for him, and this was when he was like 3 or 4, so he was very young doing this. And when he would go missing, my mom would literally look up because she knew that he'd be climbing things. And that's like terrifying as a mother, you know, like you lose your kid and you're automatically looking up because you assume he's just on the top of a like building or whatever. But yeah, so he got really into rock climbing, and he's now lived in Yosemite National Park for the last, I think this is his 4th season there, but he worked search and rescue, and he's a baller of a climber. I mean, also the stories he tells from search and rescue are wild. Like, I mean, just the craziest, like technical rescues on the side of a cliff or hiking out 15 miles and having to like carry someone on your back. So it's like crazy stuff. But recently he's been into doing really big climbs. And so El Cap is it's the biggest rock face in North America. It's one of the biggest in the world. It's also probably the most well-known in the world. And I remember starting off when I was in high school. So he was, I don't know, maybe 20 years old. I remember him going to climb it for the first time. And his goal was to do it, just to do it, like get it done, whatever. I think he did it in like 36 hours. And that's pretty crazy that he did it in that amount of time. And then it started getting lower and lower. So he eventually had the goal of, okay, I want to do it in 24 hours. Cause that's kind of like a big climber thing. Like if you can climb the nose of El Cap in 24 hours, like you're a big deal. And it just got more and more. And he just climbed it in 4 hours and 50 minutes, which shattered the record of 5 hours and 50 minutes. If you guys have seen the movie, if you've seen the movie Free Solo. So that guy, Alex Honnold, he's had set the record, I want to say like 10 years ago at 550. And my brother broke it by an hour.
No
yeah.
way.
Like it is a 3,000 foot rock face. It is, if anyone's been to Yosemite, you know what I'm talking about. It's like genuinely the craziest thing. And he's just a baller. I mean, he's 6'4" and like as built and chiseled as it comes. Like he just shimmies up there. I don't know. And anytime I go out there to visit him, I'm like, great, I will climb up maybe 20 feet. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm good. Check. We're done.
My mind is blown right now.
Same.
Crazy.
That puts like any of our dreams like to shambles. Like that's unbelievable.
It's so funny because even growing up,
is your brother Alex Honnold? Then when I was gonna ask you, like, is Free Solo about your brother?
like that. Well, that's also the crazy part because now, you know, to do stuff really fast, you're kind of taking a little bit of risk. And I think parts of it he's not roped in. So that's been a conversation we've had with him of like, we got it. We got to figure something out here. But no, he's a rock star. I'm literally so proud of him. And I mean, he's going to still continue to do his thing out there, and we'll see what else he does. We get calls every month and he's like, hey, I just did this big thing. And we're like, how are you possibly doing this?
Okay. That was my next question though, is I know in Free Solo, it's literally him and the rock. What's your brother's name?
Yeah. My brother's name is Nick.
Nick. Okay. Is that what Nick's doing too? Like, is he doing it without a rope?
No. So he used a rope on this most of the time. He did tell us there are parts of it where he doesn't. But for most of the time, yes, he's using a rope. That's a world he hasn't really ventured into that we know of, free soloing, and we're praying to God that he doesn't venture into that realm. But yeah, no, he's using a rope for the most part and being as safe as he tells us he is.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's no way he's definitely still getting the adrenaline rush, even though he's roped in.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, I remember in Free Solo, they did that test on Alex Honnold, and it was like, he literally didn't have the gene or whatever for like fear.
Yeah.
Like they don't feel things.
Yeah.
Can't relate.
I fear a lot. That's not me.
I live in an apartment in Chicago with like 4 different locks, and I still every night I'm like, I'm going to get killed. I'm going to get killed in my sleep.
Felt. Oh my gosh. Well, on that note, like well, your story's cool, but that's pretty dope. I'm glad we brought that up.
He's way cooler than I am. Yeah.
But it's also crazy that you guys grew up in Indiana. Like, he's a crazy rock climber from Indiana.
I know. Yeah. I mean, they would go down. There's it's called Red River Gorge. I think it's in Tennessee.
Or it goes into Kentucky too.
Yeah.
In Kentucky. So it's like, I don't know, 4-hour drive from us. So they would spend weekends there a lot, like him and my dad or him and some friends. But like, yeah, other than that, he's just climbing in a climbing gym. So I don't know how he became so good, but he's a rock star.
That's awesome. So, okay, we'll turn it back on you. Enough about Nick, but I'm glad he got his little spotlight there. So Emily, let's like rewind, take it back. So you grew up in Indiana. First of all, like tell us about like how you grew up and how volleyball came to be your passion, and then with that, ultimately, like why did you pick Northwestern to play at as well?
Yeah. So I actually started volleyball because my cousin that was living there at the time was really into it, and she was a year older than me. So I thought volleyball was like the coolest thing ever because my cousin played, and I think I joined a club in like 5th grade, and you're like 9 years old playing on a 12s team, and like you think you're really cool because you can get the ball over the net. And I remember kind of it hitting in like middle school that where I feel like kind of most people do, we're like, oh, I'm actually like pretty good at this. I think, I might want to go play for like a bigger club or all of that. But I remember just falling in love right away. And mostly because when you're young and you're like decent at something, you just obviously gravitate toward it and it's fun. And all your friends are playing. So you're like, well, this is great. It's like a social event and I'm not bad at this sport. So it's awesome. But I fell in love with it right away. And then in high school, I ended up switching clubs. I played for a local club in Bloomington that like wasn't very good and well known. And I kind of realized when I wanted to play in college around, I think like sophomore year, I was like, okay, I need to go play for a better club because I'm not going to get recruited at this tiny club in Bloomington. So I ended up playing for a club in Indianapolis, Circle City. And I would drive up it was like an hour and a half both ways, like 4 times a week. It was just such a grind. And I also was a big track athlete. So I'd go straight from school to track practice to volleyball practice and get back at like 11 p.m. And I think then I realized like I really got to focus on this volleyball thing, and I continue to do track, but I would kind of miss some stuff. But eventually I always wanted to go to a good journalism program. I've known I wanted to be a broadcaster since I was about 9 or 10. So I knew I wanted to go to a good journalism school, which left me at Northwestern. I looked at Syracuse, Cornell, and Mizzou was really good at that time, so I didn't think I could play there, so I didn't even consider it.
What's up, sports fans? It's former NFL wide receiver Stevie Johnson. The wait is finally over. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, is now live in Kentucky, and new customers can get in on the action with $200 of bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Mercury. Finally, you can bet on your favorite sports, from the money line to point spreads to player props and more. You'll be able to place all kinds of bets, and the bigger the underdog, the bigger your potential winnings. Say you were to bet on your team to take down the #1 team in the country. You can even bet on the game to be decided in 3 overtimes if you wanted to. Seems like it'll be worth it in my book. So start betting now on the app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Don't miss your chance to win $200 of bonus bets, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/Mercury and make every moment more. Must be 21 and up and present in Kentucky. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
So I kind of just scratched that one off. But I grew up going to Chicago all the time because my mom's family is from up here. So we used to spend a bunch of summers up here, and Northwestern was honestly kind of always my dream school. I mean, I was always a good student, but I also I couldn't have gotten in on my own kind of situation. But I ended up coming to a camp here, and it was like the first time I'd ever been on campus. And I remember the night before camp, I don't know how this happened, but I forgot my knee pads. I forgot my volleyball shoes. I forgot literally everything.
Triggering.
And it's a night
but
before.
It's triggering. Like I'm getting sick.
Oh my God. And to be fair, I pride myself in being like wildly organized, and like I'm very type A. And I guess maybe not so much in high school, more so now. But yeah, fully forgot everything. Like I didn't have anything going into this camp. And I think it was my sophomore year of high school. And I'd been talking to the coaches a little bit. So it was kind of one of those okay, if they liked me, then we'll go on a visit and all of that. And I remember telling my mom, I was like, I feel like this is meant to be. Like I probably shouldn't go to this camp. Like I forgot all my stuff and I'm really nervous and I just don't want to go. So we find a random Dick's Sporting Goods. She's like, you have to go to this. Like you would be so dumb. We find a Dick's Sporting Goods 5 minutes before they close, we're like, please let us in. I buy like, those giant croc looking knee pads, like just disgusting. And I go to this camp and it went well and whatever. I ended up going on an official. And I remember we had a different coaching staff at the time, but I remember telling them that story and they were like, well, thank God you like bought some knee pads and shoes. Cause like we want you to come play for us. And I like immediately, I remember getting the phone call and like, I just started crying and I was like, yeah, I absolutely would love to play for you guys. Like absolute dream school. I was a walk-on as well. I wasn't on scholarship, but I was like, I don't care. Like we'll make it work. Northwestern's a very expensive school, but I was very blessed that my parents were able to kind of pull some money together and figure it out. But it was always my dream school. And we ended up having a coaching change my freshman year, which was, I liked the old staff. Obviously that's why I committed there. One of the reasons, but the staff they had when I got there and the staff they currently have, Shane Davis is one of my favorite people on the planet. I would run through a wall for that man. I would take 90 bullets for that man. Like I had the best experience there. And to be fair, we were not a very good team at all. We lost more games than I can count, but I had genuinely like the best time and would not trade it for the world.
Really quick, I think you and Maddie's stories are eerily similar, and so I want her to share about that. But Northwestern was actually like my first visit I ever took when I was getting recruited. And
I wondered if you were going to share this. I was thinking it.
I was maybe like 14. I don't know. And we played at Windy City.
Was I there?
Maybe.
Probably.
We were playing.
Like, yeah, I saw you and I didn't like you, so I didn't commit.
Probably. Yeah, no. No. But we were playing at Windy City and Shane, he's awesome. And Aaron Virtue was there also. And so that staff was great. He's like, yeah, come visit while you're in town. So we go and it's like middle of February. I'm from Dallas, Texas. Like I've seen snow one time in my life. Like Christmas in Dallas are like 75 degrees. Like that's what I'm into. And we go and I'm in Shane's office and he's just asking me like, hey, so like, what are like the things you're looking for at a school? And I was like saying all like the like cliche things. I'm 14. And then I'm like, I also like really care about weather. And then Erin walks in and she's like, guys, come look at it. It's blizzarding outside. And I was like, yeah, no,
like,
I'm
it's
good.
Done. It's done.
Like, I really appreciate the time. I'm not coming to school. But yeah, Shane is awesome.
It is. Oh my God, it gets brutal there. Honestly, it's so crazy because everyone talks like summertime shy. Like I can't overhype it enough. It's the greatest thing on the planet. But when you get into February, March, even April when it's blizzarding, like
I get the chills.
It gets tough. Like, yeah, if for someone that didn't want cold weather, you made a good choice.
Like Emily, I was in training in Chicago in July for 2 weeks. And we stayed like in the loop and I was like, why are there so many spinny doors, the doors you gotta like walk around. And every building had the spinny door. And I finally was at a coffee shop and I was like, why do you guys have a spinny door? And they were like, because of the wind, you can't in the winter, you can't open doors because the wind is like a tunnel. And so they all have like,
or the door will just fly open because it's so windy. Like they literally won't.
Yeah, no, I'm from the north and it is pretty brutal, but summers in the north are ideal, but way better than Texas summers. You can agree with that, Z.
See, I'm someone like I need seasons. I don't love the cold, but like I need snow sometimes. I need a good fall. I need some change. I can't just have like constant sunny. I would go crazy.
No,
I will gladly sit in my 110 degree summers.
That is repulsive.
Are you a sweater?
Am I a sweater? No,
I'm a sweater. Yeah.
Oh, Azhani the sweater.
Okay.
I thought you said me. No,
because like I'm a sweater. Like I was in Dallas this summer for a volleyball thing, and it was like 110 every day, and I lost it. Like I would walk outside and I felt like I was being choked. Like I was like, I hate it so much. I would so much rather be in like 10 degrees and like bundled up and whatever than just sweating my butt. Like I couldn't do it.
I understand it, but I couldn't be more opposite. Like I would just rather melt than be feeling like I am freezing.
And that's super fair.
It is. The people in California have it so made though. Like I follow this influencer and she was going through like a try-on haul of stuff and she was like going through some Vori clothes that she got from Vori and I like had to turn it off. She had a sweatshirt on, and then she had like a light jacket. Like I'm telling you, the jacket was like this thick. And she's like, I wonder if it'll ever get cold enough to wear this outside. I'm like, oh my God.
Get out of here with that.
If only you knew. If only you knew.
That makes me sick.
Good times. No, Emily, back to your story though. I like couldn't help but smile the whole time. Like, I don't know if you know like my story about how I went to Kentucky, but it's actually ridiculous. Like, I think we have the exact same path. Like, Kentucky was
Let me hear it.
Kentucky was my dream school since I was like, I don't even know, 10. And I like basically begged them to go there. I would like call Craig all the time and he like wouldn't answer. I'd send emails, like wouldn't answer.
You're just such a pest. You're like, I will be going to this place, so you might as well take me now.
I was like, you guys might as well just start answering your phone. And then eventually they saw me at camp. I went to camp. I was like, screw this. And then they must have kind of liked me because then they started answering the calls. And I was also a walk-on. It's just like, it's crazy how everything works out. Like I was so worried about how I was going to pay for it. And, ended up like getting a few scholarships or a few semesters of scholarship. And I don't know, it's just, it was the best experience. Like I would run through a wall and 15 walls for Craig Skinner. Like he's the best.
When, did you start playing freshman year? Or like when did you start really getting in the lineup?
That's so sweet that you just said that. Sophomore year, honestly, I started playing a little bit.
Well, I like asking walk-ons that because, like, for me, I didn't play until my senior year. Like, I rode the bench super hard, and I'm not saying I loved it, but like, I made the best bench atmosphere in the freaking country. I was like, if I'm not on the court, like, I am going to be the biggest hype woman. I'm going to have the best celebrations. We will be the best bench in the country. And I was like, if I don't get on the court, whatever, like those girls are better than me. So I'll keep pushing them. But like
100%, like the year we won the Natty, we called ourselves FTU and then F them.
FTU still lives on.
It lives on, but that was like the B side. And we like beat the Natty team, the Natty champ team, like, sorry Z, but like a decent amount of time, like often, low key.
Yeah.
Low key. But it was so fun because it was just like that. We took pride in that. And it sounds like the same thing for you guys.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think for us, like, again, we didn't win a lot of games, so it was like a little bit different, but yeah, our B side was always so excited and hyped. And yeah, I mean, we were constantly pushing those girls. And again, for me, I thought I'm going to practice as hard as I can. I kind of made up for it in other ways. Like I wanted to be the strongest in the weight room. So I was lifting the most. I was like, God, I used to lift so much. Now I can't even think of putting like 10 pounds on my back, but like, that was my thing. Like I was a freaking beast in the weight room. And then running, I was like, I'm going to be the fastest girl on the team. I'm going to beat every single person in sprints. Like I might not be the best passer. I might be passing like 20% in system, but like, I'm going to beat you in a sprint.
You can't
like I will be shanking.
Can't pay me
I'll
to
be
go
shanking
service
every
you.
ball, but if you want to get in a race, like I'm gonna beat the heck out of you.
Oh my god,
that's amazing! I love that.
You guys are speaking each other's language right now, and I can feel it.
Yours too, Tealer. Though you're the same way. You're just really good at volleyball, so that helps.
You actually have the skill as well.
Oh god, cut it out.
Okay, Tealer. I have a good question though, based on our conversation on this. I think like. Well, I know how you do one thing is how you do all things, right? So if how we are in the weight room, how we were on the bench, how we were as a student, that's how people are. If you're a certain way one way, then you should be that way for everything. So talk about how that's translated into your career now. Obviously, you care about everything you do a lot. So how have you seen your career take off because of that care that you've had for everything you do?
Yeah, I think it just comes back to like just having that innate drive. Again, like for volleyball, I knew I wasn't going to be or wasn't the best in the gym, but I was going to make up for it in other ways. Like I was going to learn that scout so well, better than every single person. So in the off chance that I had to go in there and shift right and middle back on a whatever, like I was going to have the biggest shift ever. But I think just that like attention to detail and innate work ethic really translates to my job now because starting off, I graduated in 2020, which was quite literally the worst time to break into sports. Like sports weren't happening. There were no broadcasting jobs out there, also known as hiring. So when that happened, I kind of made a promise to myself, like, I'm going to figure this out. Even if there's no jobs, like, I'm going to make this work. And I ended up starting a web show, like similar to this. I would just interview Big Ten volleyball coaches, players, alumni, like people around the sport. Cause I was like, I'm going to make this work. Like, I don't care if anyone's going to give me an opportunity. I'll make one for myself. I'm going to push a door open. I don't really care. So I started doing that and pitching it to a volleyball publication that picked it up. And then from there, I just started pitching myself to a lot of different places. So I had a connection. I interned at Big Ten Network in college. I was just like a producer editor. So I literally edit videos. And I reached out to like anyone I knew there, pitching what I was doing and all of that. And I ended up pitching myself to Athletes Unlimited for the first year that they started. I had literally no experience doing anything except these web videos. And luckily they were looking for a digital host, but weren't willing to pay that much. And I was like, I'll literally do it for free. Like, I don't care. So I got like chump change and I spent 8 weeks in a bubble in Dallas. And like you're just like grinding all the time in this job. And I learned that pretty early on. Like, this job is what you make of it. And the product is going to reflect how much work you're putting in and how much homework you're doing on these teams and all of that. And I started pitching myself to a lot of different people. I basically like forced Big Ten Network to put me on a game because they also needed analysts, which helped me out. My first game was terrible. I don't know why they thought I could do what I was doing. Like, I remember listening back, I think it was last year I did. And I was like, how did you guys give me a mic? Like, this is disgusting. I'm so appalled, but whatever. They saw potential, I guess. But I think going back to the question, I think it's just creating my own opportunities was big, and just knowing and belief in myself that I could do it and having that drive and hard work to do it. And now where I'm at, like, I feel like I don't have that off switch, even if I've had a team 5-6 times in a season, like, I'm prepping the same as if I didn't have them. And like, I pride myself on how much I prep for games. Like, I get a lot of calls from college students who want to be like a play-by-play or an analyst. And the first thing I tell them, I'm like, the game is the really easy part. Like, you just get to talk about what you've learned over the last few weeks and watch this game unfold. But what goes into it is the important part. Like, how much are you prepping? Like, how much are you scouting these teams? Like, your calls with coaches and all these things. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why my career is where it's at, because I put in so much work behind the scenes. And like, honestly, like I feel like I'm just in grind mode. Like, I'm doing 34 games this season, and I have like back-to-back games in different states and all this stuff. And like, I want to do as much as possible because I don't feel like I have that off switch.
What's up, sports fans? It's former NFL wide receiver Stevie Johnson. The wait is finally over. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, is now live in Kentucky. And new customers can get in on the action with $200 of bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Mercury. Finally, you can bet on your favorite sports, from the money line to point spreads to player props and more. You'll even be able to bet on your team's total number of wins for the year. With it being the last year of divisions in the SEC, this is the year the Cats win the East. Ride with me and place a bet, predicting the Cats to win the East. So start betting now on the app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Don't miss your chance to win $200 of bonus bets, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/Mercury and make every moment more. Must be 21 and up and present in Kentucky. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And to be fair, like, you get tired and you get worn out, but at the end of the day, when I'm doing something that I love so much and have such a passion for it, like, I'm just so all in.
That's so cool.
That's awesome. And I think what your job is incredible, and honestly, it's like something that I've dreamt about doing for a really long time. And so I think it's really awesome to hear you talk about it that way and that passionately. Yeah. And I think the preparation you talk about is so incredible, because I think it's crazy how often you listen to games and you listen to these broadcasts and these people just get so many things wrong, like names wrong. And it's like, you've had so long to prepare for this, and that's your job. Yeah. You're getting it wrong. And I think that's such a crucial part of it. So I think that's really awesome and inspiring.
It's like, well, thank you. I think part of it too is like, you're covering these athletes. Like I'm not the story here. I'm telling your story. So if I'm telling a story and I don't know how to pronounce your name, like that's very embarrassing and disrespectful. Like just ask someone how to pronounce their name. I don't know. Yeah. Little things. Again, I think it's part of that, just like attention to detail that sometimes like goes unnoticed by people. And in this job, like you just can't do that if you want to be good at it and move up. Like you have to pay attention to detail. You got to grind for the first few years. Like you got to know your stuff. Cause yeah, I can't explain how many times I've listened to volleyball broadcasts and just been like, what are you talking about? And I know I'm sure people listen to me sometimes and they're like, what is she talking about? But like, if people are saying that, I hope it's not because I don't know someone's name or, things like that. Like the stuff that I'm getting wrong, maybe I'm messing up what happened in a play. Fine. I do that all the time, but like, I'm not going to mess up your name. I'm not going to mess up coaches and any of those details. I try to be very disciplined and, like very honed in on.
Awesome. That's awesome. I always text Z like when I'm watching their matches now and I'm like, oh, this one said your name wrong. Like, because I know she'll be like, what the heck? Like I've been playing for 7 years now. No offense, Z, 5 years, but round it up.
Yeah, especially and to be fair, like Azhani, you're a like big time player. Like if someone's messing up, you're like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. You were saying that like the game and the game unfolding is the really easy part. And something that's gone viral in the past few weeks since it happened was that rally that we played against Nebraska. And you were on the call for that. That rally was what, 1:40 for 30 seconds long?
Yeah, it was like I want to say like 1:12, which even to get to a minute's insane. Like
Z was on the ground.
Well, you know what?
Z was on the ground like 12 times during the rally. That's ridiculous as a middle.
Yeah.
There was one point where I was like, how am I on the ground again? Like, I remember thinking that, like, how are you here? But, like...
What was your question?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to flip it back on you because I think you were going to ask me about it, but I just had to sit there and watch it unfold, and I was out of breath, and I didn't have to do anything. Like, take me through that and explain what the heck was going on and how have you ever been that tired?
The answer is actually no. I've never been that tired in a match in my life. And every single time someone made a play, I was like, surely like this is it.
Yeah.
And it just was like never it. Like Harper Murray is the ball Lexi Rodriguez sent like from 40 feet off the sideline. Harper Murray swings at it. And I was like, first off, she's going to be insane because freshman Z would never swing at that ball.
No one swings at that ball. And she's just like, yup.
Timing's impeccable, hand contacts, or Lexi Rodriguez making one-arm plays, their setters making plays, Rebo's in the back row, and every single time I'm like, why is this still going on? Why is it still going on? And then my legs start to burn. Yeah. Finally, Harper hits sub off the block, and it lands, and I just, like, take a lap. I can't celebrate. I can't look at my teammates. Like, I can't even breathe. So I just walk around, and Reagan Rutherford's like, Z, come in the huddle. And I'm like, Rebo, you got to give me a second, because I cannot breathe. I can't breathe. It was really crazy. It was crazy.
Like, I just genuinely... Like, I think about long rallies and, like, me as a libero, yeah, long rallies, like, yeah, you might have to dive a few times. Obviously, you get tired, whatever. But I cannot imagine as an outside or a middle, like, in long rallies, even in, like, 3 to 4, like, rally lengths. Like, the amount of times you guys have to jump in that, like, I was just so shell-shocked. And, like, my jaw was literally on the floor because I was like, I know everyone's conditioned and, like, great. But that was, like, a different level of, like, that was a next gear of like, I'm locked in and this ball is not falling. And those are also the rallies where like, you just want both sides to win because you're like, that was so fun.
Totally.
Yeah. I would like to say, this is probably biased. I think that the pancake that they made on their side of the net was down.
Pancake was down.
Thank you. I'll say it, but
pancakes are so hard because they're really hard to overturn. Like to challenge them is kind of silly because it's like 50-50 as to whether it can be overturned, right?
Well, yeah, honestly, yeah, you rarely see pancakes overturned unless it's like really obvious, but the cameras are never, I mean, I will say Nebraska has probably the best cameras that I've seen, but even then, like, they're so tough to overturn. But based on the looks that we saw, I also thought it was down. I also think, honestly, I think they threw that challenge just to give you guys like a second to breathe because who wants to go into the next play?
Yeah, no, not I. Not I. Well, this is actually a funny story, Emily, off of that. Z, neither of us were on the team, but it was the year before we came in, so like 2019, Kentucky lost to Nebraska in the tournament. I don't know if it was like round 2 or something, but Elite 8. Oh, dang. Wow. Okay. I didn't know it was Elite 8. So they're in the Elite 8. They played Nebraska. It was like a close, it wasn't a close game. I think they lost in 4, maybe. I'm saying all the details wrong. Anyways, Lexi Hill had a pancake, and they posted like a few months later, like National Pancake Day, and the picture of Lexi, right? And wait, what did I say? Lexi's son, right? It's really awkward.
Lexi Hill.
Yeah, that's someone I know. No, Lexi's son had a pancake, and she like quote tweeted it a few months later and was like, if only they knew it wasn't a pancake or something like that. But yeah. And I think they lost the set 20, like it was like 0.25, like to get 26. You know what I mean? It was a game changing play. And so I remember like we were in the group chat when she quote tweeted that, and the whole team was like, you know, crazy.
Oh God, I would have lost it. That's
Crazy.
so tough. Also, I mean, even back then, challenge rules were different. I don't even know what the challenge rules were then, but I'm sure there's no way they would have overturned it regardless.
And you didn't get those back then. Now, like, there was like 17 challenges in our match last night, and I was like, how do coaches still have challenges? But I didn't realize like we're getting them back if we win, which makes a lot of sense. But
that's like bad reffing then. That there should never be that many challenges because there's that many plays that are called wrong then from a ref.
Well, also, I also think if a call stands, you should be able to get that challenge back because they just don't have enough to like overturn or whatever. And I whatever. I have a lot of problems with a lot of things, but that's one where I'm like, if it stands, like it's not your fault that they couldn't see well enough. Like you should get that back.
Yeah, I'm with that.
I agree.
I can ask a question, Tealer, unless you wanted to. Okay, I'll go.
I have a question, but go for it. Well, Emily, one of your in one of these articles I saw that you were written about, it was you talking about how obviously you love sports, but one of your big missions is destigmatizing mental health in the athletic space. Where did that root from, and when did that start, and how does that look for you in this job?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing this up because a lot of people, still don't want to talk about it. Again, it's wildly stigmatized, and I think for me, when I started to really think about it was probably college. I don't think a lot of high schools or high school athletes, high school coaches, really anyone in that space, at least at the time, really talked about mental health in that way. And I remember when I got to college and I was lucky enough to not really struggle too much myself, but there's a lot of people around me that were, because I think college is so difficult. You're coming in freshman year, especially as an athlete, there's so many different areas. So it's hard enough just coming to college anyway. You're probably away from your parents for the first time. School's really hard. It's just an adjustment anyway, like making friends, all the stuff. Then you add athletics onto it. And anyone coming into college was probably the best in their high school team, the best in their club team, whatever. And you're thrown into a group of people and you're at the bottom of the barrel again. And it's a really difficult transition. You're also just tired all the time and don't get to see the only people you see is your team. And if you like them, great, but you still get exhausted by them and, all the things. So I think, freshman year and really as college went on, you could see, things happening to people that I didn't see in high school. And, you would see people, going through depression and getting diagnosed with anxiety and all these things. And it really opened my eyes to, okay, there's so many people dealing with this stuff. And it's not just something that happens to a select few people. Like it's kind of the majority of athletes, at least some point in their career. It seemed to me that we're going through it. And the fact that I think there was at least at Northwestern, there was a stat like only 10% of people seek help about it, which was crazy to me. I went to a therapist in college and I wasn't struggling too much, but I still would go through bouts where I wasn't feeling good about certain things or whether it was play related or not, that I just wanted someone to either bounce ideas off of or just help me talk through some stuff that was an outside source. And it was just crazy to me that a lot of people either didn't know those resources were available or chose to not use them even when they were struggling. And it's just something that could help them in the same way that we go to physical therapy to, deal with a knee injury or fix your shoulder, or after every practice, you're in there using recovery boots or cold tubbing. Why aren't we doing that for our head, which is objectively way more important than our body in some ways. So I think for me, I ended up joining it was like a facet of our athletic department. It was called Purple. It was like peer mentors. I don't know what it all stood for, but basically it was like a mentorship type thing. And one of our missions was destigmatizing mental health. And I kind of took charge of that. And we had, at the time, it was called the Green Bandana Project, to spread awareness of mental health and just the resources that were available. And we like wrote and produced some videos about it within our athletic department, and it kind of became a big thing. It was really cool to be in charge of that, because I remember after we had this campaign year after year, the numbers of student athletes like seeking help and going to see a therapist or mental health professional like skyrocketed. And it was so cool to see that, you know, even if people weren't struggling, just like to fine tune their game or to fine tune their mind just in the same way that we do with our bodies every single day. That was something that was really cool in college. And now I think we're at a place where people are talking about it a lot more. And now we're seeing athletes talk about it a lot more. You know, we have the Naomi Osakas, we have Simone Biles, you know, all these athletes that are really talking about it and bringing it to light, that they're also going through the same thing. And they are at the pinnacle, like the best athletes in the entire world, you know, best athletes of our generation are going through the exact same things. And it's so cool to see. And I feel like it makes me proud to be an athlete in some ways, because you're like, you get it, and you're opening the door for so many younger athletes, or even not even athletes, just people in general, to seek help or to take a break or to, you know, have some me time or whatever that looks like to you. It was just really cool over the last few years to see that space grow in a way that is really progressive and just helping so many people.
That's so cool. That's really cool, Emily. We at Kentucky, we had Damn Worth It, which sounds like it might be similar to your Green Bandana campaign.
Yeah.
And, you know, there were some stories that were brought to light of like our peers within the athletic program that we would have never known, right? Like they would never have talked about unless that space was there for them to do so. So I think it's really needed, and I'm excited. It's not the right word, but I'm hopeful. I guess I'm hopeful that it's going to keep going in the right direction, I would say.
Yeah. Feels like it.
Yeah, I agree. That's really cool. So I guess a question I had, going back to, or we can stay on the topic of health, I guess, something that like I'm struggling to work through right now is when you have a career outside of sports, yours is in sports, but you're not having to take care of your body every day. Right. So, and I know as a broadcaster, your schedule, you have about this much control over your schedule, right? When you have to be somewhere, like you have to be somewhere. When you have to eat, you have to eat. So how are you now figuring out how to both like juggle your health and also your career? You know, like right now I'm like I feel like I'm not getting enough sleep, or I'm not eating right. And it's because like I don't have that much control over my schedule. I'm just wondering if you feel the same or not.
Yeah. I'm laughing because like I'm still figuring out the whole work-life balance thing. Like it's pretty crazy, and not even just in this job, but just I think in life. Like right now, I literally feel like I'm planning out like when I can go to bed and when I can like sneak in a meal, like in between hopping on a plane and going to, you know, wherever, and then the next day turning around and all this stuff. Work-life balance is so difficult in this job. It's also interesting because this job is very cyclical in a sense of like in the fall, I'm wildly busy from August to basically New Year's. And then January, February, I don't have a lot to do. Like I'm traveling all the time and I get to sleep and like finally work out and all these things. So I go through phases where I'm so busy for months at a time, and then it all just kind of stops. And for me, like I have a big difficulty mentally with change. And so when I'm entering those periods of whether it's right before the season starts and I know I'm going to be really busy, like I just kind of have a mental freak out of like, oh my God, I'm going to be so busy for 3 months and I'm not like mentally there to handle it. And then once I get in it, like I'm fine. But then when the season ends, I have a really hard time slowing down. And I think part of that is from being an athlete. Like when the world stops in a sense, and I'm not busy every day, and I don't have to be on my laptop for 10 hours a day and hop on a plane and all these things, like I have difficulty just sitting there and like being bored. Like I always have to be doing something. And I'm trying to figure out that work-life balance, not only in season when I actually just don't have time to do things, but when my season ends and figuring out how to be comfortable with not being busy 24/7. So I'm figuring it out. I will say, I think this season I feel a lot better like mentally than I have in the past, mostly because I think I've now just gotten into a rhythm of like how to prep and travel and like call a game. Whereas the last 2 years I was still figuring it out. And I have way more games than I did last season, but I feel better about it and a little bit more, I guess, less stressed because I now have a rhythm and I kind of know what I'm doing and I'm just in the groove of like, okay, travel, game, travel, home, game, like all, all of that. But I am still figuring out the work-life balance of like actually taking time for myself. And for me this season, that's looked like when I land at a place, like the first thing I do is work out because it's really hard to get in workouts nowadays. And this sounds really dumb, but when I work out, I have to wash my hair and I don't want to wash my hair every day. So
being a
I'm
girl
working out.
sucks. Being a girl sucks. I'll hang my hat on that.
Like, it's horrible. It's like when I work out, I have to wash my hair and I don't have time for that. Like it takes a freaking half hour to blow dry. So I don't have time to do all that. So I only work out when on hair wash days, which is like 2 days a week now because there's just dry shampoo the whole time. So I'm trying to figure out how to like get in workouts, which make me feel so much better. But then also like sneak in, naps and all this stuff. So to answer your question, I'm figuring out the work-life balance. Have not fully figured it out yet, but it's kind of just trying to take some time for myself. And I've been talking to friends a lot more. Like any long car ride I have, I'll try to fill that with catching up with people. But like work-life balance is really hard. And it's you don't even have to be a sports broadcaster to feel that. I mean, I have friends working 9 to 5s and they're trying to figure out, the work-life balance themselves and coming home and being tired, not wanting to work out or, cook a meal or see friends. Like working is exhausting. Like stay in volleyball as long as you can, because my God, the real world is just like, it's nonstop for the next like 40 years. And
it hits
it's a lot.
Yeah. Emily, that was literally my next question. And like, it's so dumb, but the working out piece has been really hard. Like post volleyball, I love working out. Like that is like mentally, that kind of keeps me in the game, but there's literally only 24 hours in a day. And so like when I miss workouts, I like get so mad at myself and I'm trying to get better about like, okay, like you're not training for something, like you don't have to be in great shape. So that was my next question. You work out twice a week typically? What do you like to do?
I aim for like 3 times a week, but that like never really happens. And I'm the same way. Like I will say, I think when volleyball ended, I was for probably like 6 months, I was still in the mindset of like, I'm working out every day. I got really into running. It was great. And then I went through a period, I guess COVID probably sparked this, but I just like literally didn't want to work out ever. And I was in a good headspace. It wasn't like nothing was wrong there, but I just like didn't want to work out. I was like, I have been working out since I was 3 years old every day. And like, I'm so done with this. And so I don't think I worked out for like, I don't know, probably like 3 months. I was like, I don't want to touch anything. Like I'll go on walks, but I was just like checked out, which I think is super fair. Like I just needed a break. And then I got into running and then my hips and my back decided that I couldn't be into running. So I stopped that. But I think it's really hard figuring out like when you're an athlete, your strength coaches, your coaches are telling you what to do at all times every day. You don't have to make out a workout plan. They're telling you how many reps to do, what exactly to do. You get a demonstration. They're doing everything for you. And then when you're done, they're just like, okay, you have to figure it out for yourself now.
Right.
I've never had to do that in my life. I don't know what I'm doing. So, you can make workout plans and all that, but that's like, it's really difficult transitioning out of athletics and one, having like the will to work out, because it changes for people and it'll change, for the same person, like it did for me as you go on in life. But it's really difficult because you don't really know what to do. And sometimes you feel really burnt out of it, which is, again, totally fair. I think for me, what I've I really do miss running and I wish I could run because that was like my favorite release. Also, it's fun to like, for me, it was fun to see campuses and I could run around and all that. But now what I'll do is I go to Orange Theory sometimes. I recently just started Pilates and I always joked that it was like the dumbest thing. And it's so hard. Like I leave that place and I can't walk. Like I'm shaking so bad.
Yeah.
I love Pilates. So it's so hard. I also will do like 30-minute HIIT workouts in my living room. Other than that, like sometimes I'll go on walks. And by sometimes, I mean like once a month.
I'm loving the honesty. I'm loving it. No, honestly, this is going to sound dumb, but it just makes me feel better that I'm not alone because sometimes, I'm just like, I got to figure this out, but you got to give yourself grace.
Do you know Victoria Garrick?
Yeah.
Or do you know?
I was just going to ask if you knew her because you started talking and I was like,
Can we get her on the pod, Emily? Do you know her well?
Oh my God, no. If I knew her, I would have made that known right away. No, I love her. But,
yeah, same.
No, but I mean, one, obviously she's doing incredible things for the mental health space and all of that. Yeah. But I know she actually has done a few podcasts on working out after having been an athlete. And I don't remember if she had talked to like a professional or just telling her story, but it's really difficult when you're done with sports to have the will to work out, try to figure out what to do, all these things. But she's a really good podcast about it or like one episode about it that she like constantly links in her Instagram stories and whatnot. Cool. But I would say to any athlete, like even before you graduate, probably even better to listen to then. But it's so relatable and just makes you feel better because we're all going through the same stuff. It's difficult transitioning out of being an athlete. So it's nice to have people in that space that are like well-known, openly talking about it.
Totally. And not to like be really vulnerable, but your body changes. Like,
oh my God. Yes. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that too. Like, well, even coming into college, I think that's part of it. Like you come into college, you have all your clothes from high school and you start lifting for a month and you put on a pair of jeans that don't even fit over your left calf. And you're like, okay, well,
100%.
This is different. Like I remember in college, again, I made it a point to be like the strongest in the weight room and all of that. And nothing fit me like a month in. And that does stuff to you mentally. Like they talk about freshman 15 and whatever, but like it's legit. And if you're a college athlete, like you have to put on muscle. Like it's part of it. And no one talks about the fact that that's really difficult to deal with mentally. And then you go into the spring season, it changes throughout the year too. Like during season, you're not lifting as much. So maybe, stuff fits a little better, but then you're in the spring and you're like pumping, 250 on your back and nothing fits you anymore, but no one talks about it. And then when you're done being an athlete, God, I remember from December until I want to say February, maybe even March. So like 2-3 months in, like I lost 20 pounds just from losing literally all my muscle. And it was the craziest thing for me. Like, and I wasn't like, yeah, I lost 15 pounds, like whatever. Cause I don't like talking about like weight like that. But like, I just remember being like, this is crazy because I don't have any muscle anymore. Like, I don't know what to do with my body. This is really weird. And a lot of people just like keep lifting and all that. I just couldn't. I was over it. But it's like, it's weird mentally that transition of like, wow, my body like looks and just feels so different now that I'm done being an athlete.
So different. Yeah. No, it's crazy. I know Z's like, I don't know how much Z's body will change. She hates when I say that, but she might have a 6-pack. Like Z,
you what? You squat. What did we write down? Like you squat 310, 290. What was it?
315.
315. My God, girl.
Yeah. No, but Emily, she like doesn't like to lift. Like if I'm like,
that's
crazy. Like I would go do extra lifts and she would just like come hang out with me or like go on the elliptical or something. Cause like she doesn't like it.
That's so crazy to me. I think I got up to like 275 and I thought I was like the coolest person ever. And so like I'm telling you, I used to be strong, guys. You would never know now. Cause I'm like, I got nothing.
275 is a lot of weight for a bro.
I was on
a libero.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I dropped like all my muscle right away. Cause like once I stopped like lifting, everything just fell off my body, which I was fine with because I didn't need these massive muscles in the real world. But like, yeah, it was super. Yeah, it was weird. But I also like, I love lifting. That was kind of my thing. I also was like a power lifter in high school. Cause I was long jumper and whatever, but I can't believe you lift that much and don't even really enjoy. I don't want to say enjoy it, but like, that's not your thing.
It's not my thing. No, I'd rather like run 30 bleachers than get a lift in, really.
And you would do that. Like, I feel like you would just like go do stadiums while I would be like trying to lift.
Yeah. I don't know.
Wild. Well, I'm glad that we had that conversation. We do want to get Victoria Garrick on the podcast, and I'm feeling like it could happen. I feel like it's in our future, so we're gonna put it out there.
Keep reaching out to her, because I feel like sometimes I know she looks through her DM, so just keep doing it.
We had Zoe
I wish
Fleck
I could
on
help.
too, and Zoe Fleck was on her podcast, so we're gonna make it happen.
It's always incredible.
Yes.
She's like just one of the coolest, most interesting people in the sport.
Cool. She's just so cool. Like, it's like you're into the most random things, and it makes you kind of like really intriguing.
She's into so many, like she's got tennis and pickleball and like the I don't know what to call them, the
ropes.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah, she's awesome. Emily, I have one question for you before we do our last question, and I think it's interesting your perspective because you've been to so many campuses as an athlete and now as a broadcaster. You've been to so many campuses. What is your favorite campus / college town in all of college sports?
Okay, I'm going to give two answers because I'm wildly biased toward Bloomington in Indiana, obviously, like growing up there. But I will say, like, I genuinely think it's the prettiest campus in the country. I've been to so many of them.
Sure.
If anyone hasn't been to Indiana, and if you get to go to Bloomington, like walk around campus, the limestone, it's like everything's limestone because Bloomington's a like limestone powerhouse. That's not a thing, but whatever. We used to like mine limestone or whatever they call it. But it's actually it's stunning. So that's like my 1A, obviously, but again, wildly biased. I think secondly, when I had your guys' Georgia game, I actually walked around Georgia. I hadn't been there. Oh my God, Athens is so nice.
Athens
is amazing.
That was my one walk of the month. I walked around Athens and I was just like, I was like moving. I was like, this is the coolest place ever. I was going for miles because it was stunning. And to be fair, it was like 75 and sunny. So it was also beautiful out. But like the rolling hills, and I normally I don't like brick a lot. Like I don't love brick buildings, and a lot of their campus was brick, but they also had the like classic Southern like white pillars, and it just was like nice and clean and beautiful and green. Like there's forests everywhere. So I would say that's probably my second favorite campus in terms of how pretty it is. Also, I'm biased toward Northwestern. Like, I mean, it's stunning. The lake's right there. You see Chicago. Like, it's just nice. But I'm not going to count that because, again, I'm just super biased.
Right. Yeah, Georgia is, aside from like the campus and like college buildings, like Athens itself is just so cool. So the buildings, the streets, like everything about it's really beautiful.
Yeah, and they have a lot of like really good restaurants and fun bars. They just looked like a super fun place.
Yeah. Every time that was like unanimous among our team, like every team we played on, everyone would get so excited when Georgia away was on the calendar because we were like, we loved Athens. We loved going to Athens.
Oh, it's so nice. Well, also, I was like not happy about the trip because Athens is the hardest place to. I'm sure you guys like charter, but you know,
yeah, we do.
God, we
do. But my mom. So my parents, they like hop on flights for our games all the time. But my mom refuses to come to Athens because you have to fly to Atlanta, drive hour and a half. It's just so hard to get to. So she never comes.
I flew into Atlanta and then I land, of course, at like 4 p.m. So there's traffic. It's like 2-hour drive out there. I'm like, what is this place? So I was like super mad. Then I got there and it was fine. But my God, it's hard to get to. Like put an airport there. What are we doing?
Yeah, I think that's got to happen at some point. It's too big of a school for them to not have an airport.
Yeah.
Seems silly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has been so sad. So fun. I don't even want to close it up. But we have our favorite question to ask you. And like I feel like you've already given us so many really cool things to take away. So I'm excited to hear what your answer is going to be. But for all of the winning women listening, what would be your best piece of advice?
I have so many. My best piece of advice would probably be to never take no for an answer. And that could look like a lot of different things. So, you know, professionally, like always shooting your shot, and whatever that looks like reaching out to whoever. Like I remember when I was looking for jobs, like I would just cold call people all the time and like kind of just forcing your way into situations. And people say no, great. You move on to the next thing. Like one door closes, another one opens. I think in so many aspects of life, it's so important to just like keep pushing forward. And if someone says no, then okay, then it wasn't meant to be. So you go on to the next thing. And I also will say, like, I think it's really important to, now this is easier said than done, but like to have confidence. And if you have to fake that, fine. But like if you can just convert your mind to always being like confident and positive, and your body will follow. Like whatever's happening in your mind, your body's going to do the same thing. So even if you're tricking your body into thinking like, hey, I can go do this, whatever, or whatever it is, just being confident. And if that has to be fake confidence at first, fine, whatever. At least other people around you are going to think you're super confident and know what you're doing, even if you have no idea. Like I feel like half my job is BSing people, and not really, but like, like you got to just act confident, like you know what you're doing, know what you're saying. And in any aspect of your life, like good things will happen if you can tell yourself like you can do this. Find your why. I always think back like when my job gets tough or I get burnt out, like why am I doing this is really important. And just knowing that you're wherever you are for a reason, and just continue pushing. Like, again, if someone says no to you, if someone wants to close a door, that's fine. It wasn't meant to be. Like, go to the next thing.
I love that. We you knew I was going to say this, Z, but Z and I coined the term delusional confidence one time.
Yes.
Just being like delusionally confident in every aspect of your life is kind of a game changer, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I think like when setting goals too, obviously important to be like realistic and all that, but why not have a delusionally high goal? Like, okay, worst case scenario, you like get close to there, or maybe you get baby steps to there. But I think when you find you're setting these like smaller goals, you like hit them. If you're, a driven person and can make them happen, like you hit them like quicker than you normally think. So like, why not have those far reaching goals? They might be delusional. People might call you crazy, but like in your mind, you just have to tell yourself like, I'm not crazy. I'm going to get there. It might not be next year. It might not be in the next 5 years, but 10 years down the line, like, hell yeah, I can get there.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
I love it. Drop the mic. LSU. Oh my goodness. I must tell this story really quickly, and then I'll let you guys go. Last night we played at LSU, and there was like their student section right near our bench, and one of our managers, Miriam, was like, Z, when you get a chance, go look at the papers that are on the student section. There was like a bunch of flyers like on every single row of the student section. And so like middle of practice, like I don't serve, so I just went over there in the middle of serve, and I go pick up this paper, and it had my face on it, and I was like, what is this? And it said,
I can read it. I'll read it, Z.
Oh my gosh.
I got it right here. I hung it up in my room, so don't even worry. It says, I didn't play LSU last year because I was hurt, and it says, Azhani Tealer was too afraid to play against us last year, but she's got confidence now from her new podcast. The podcast is called the It Girls Podcast, which is funny since no one follows it. She hopes to fall back onto podcasting when her volleyball career is over. Yell, drop the mic when she serves to remind her how irrelevant her podcast is.
What?
I cannot make it up. Isn't that crazy?
God, students?
I don't even serve.
Students
They didn't do their research, so I don't serve.
Student sections are so mean nowadays. Oh my! I honestly like. I kind of love that. That's super fun for them. Like, kind of cool.
Yeah.
But like, you're ruthless. What the heck?
I was honestly so excited. I was talking to Z this morning, and that's like Z. I don't know how many big their student section was, but 200, maybe. I don't know. Irrelevant.
Their student section was more irrelevant than our podcast.
I was going to say, as the students, like, how many students, like, that's not, 200 is not very much.
No, but you know what's great is they all looked up our podcast after that. They're all like, oh, what's this? Yeah, so we benefited.
Yeah. It's like, all publicity is good publicity.
Period.
Okay.
Yep. Amen. That's a good story, Tealer. Well,
thanks.
On that note, Emily, thank you times a million. This has absolutely been such a pleasure, and I know I speak on behalf of both Z and I, but you are so talented at what you do, and we are so excited to see what the next level looks like for you, and just watch you as you continue to grow with the sport too. So we thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot. Yeah. I appreciate it. I think honestly, like, people like you guys make my job really easy. Like, Z, when I get to cover you, it makes it easy because you're such a fun like player and person, and it's fun being in this job because I love the sport so much, and I love the people in it. If I didn't, I would be doing a different sport. Like I probably wouldn't like my job as much, but it really makes my job easy and fun because I have the best athletes and coaches to cover who like care about the sport as much as I do. So I appreciate it. It's been fun. I love it. And see, you guys are crushing it right now. So keep it up.
Thank you. I appreciate it. We're on a roll. We'll keep it going. So
I love it.
yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Emily. We appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.